Senator Tom Harkin has been a real friend of public broadcasting for the past 40 years. 40 years as a member of the House of Representatives, and then for the last 30 as a member of the United States Senate. And he has been in a particularly good position to be of service to our industry and to the people that we serve through his chairmanship of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, and through his chairmanship of the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on Labor, Health and Human Services, and Education. He's been our champion with respect to the CPB funding, with respect to our Ready to Learn program, which is so important to us, and with respect to helping us in every funding battle and every other legislative battle that we have fought in the entire history of public broadcasting. It's just amazing, and I will say just on a personal note that my old boss, Senator Baker, was leaving the Senate just as Senator Harkin was arriving in 1984, 85, and but I truly admire people like Senator Harkin, who are kind of old school in my way of thinking, who try to get things done, who can reach across partisan lines, who can legislate, who can get important things done, and who are just real national treasures. And it is a tremendous honor for us to give you the first ever Lifetime Achievement Award of the Association of Public Television Stations. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful, the honorable Tom Harkin of Iowa.
That's just kind of special. First of all, thank you very much, Pat, for the very kind words, and thank you for this very meaningful award. I had not expected it, but I welcome it, and I thank you very much for it. I welcome you all here. I'm sorry for being just a little late. Whenever people see a snowflake around here, traffic grinds to a halt. Thank you, Molly Phillips, for nearly a quarter century of dedicated service to Iowa Public Television. Sharon Rockefeller, thank you again for your great leadership for all of the corporation, for everything that you do. Every time I watch Downton Abbey, I thank Sharon Rockefeller. Earl Blumenauer, my good friend in the House, it's good to see you here, and also a great longtime supporter of public television, public broadcasting, I might say, and all of its radio or television. And also Brent Sechrist, my longtime friend from Western Iowa. I thank all of you for this very generous award, and I am truly touched to receive this recognition from a group whose mission and work I've always admired so much. Pat mentioned the fact that I've been a long-time outspoken champion of public broadcasting. No truer words were ever spoken. I have been. I have served as either the chairman or ranking member of the Appropriations Subcommittee that funds public broadcasting since 1989, including the last 7 years as the chairman. And I'm proud of the fact that we've increased funding for the corporation from $228 million in 1989 to $445 million this year. It sounds great, but we've basically just kept pace with inflation, just slightly more. I wish we could have done better, but at least we're hanging in there. And I've often said, yes, we've kept up with inflation, but with all of the needs out there and the public demand, I think, for better television, we could use a lot more. However, very often over those 25 years, championing public broadcasting has required more than just securing money. It's required that you and I fight back against misguided, ideologically driven attacks on the very idea of public broadcasting. Broadcasting that receives public taxpayer support and is committed to serving public purposes and the public interest. As you know very well, the House has passed budgets in each of the last 4 years, attempting to completely eliminate funding for your essential public enterprise. And again, I would recognize Congressman Blumenauer for his stalwart opposition to those cuts through all those years. Of course, this is part of a much broader assault, I think, on our essential public institutions, including our public schools and even our institutions of government. One thing about being a so-called senior senator is that you have a memory that goes back a long way. I recall a landmark speech to the National Association of Broadcasters in 1961 by Newton Minow. He was chairman of the FCC. In that speech, that was where he coined that phrase, television being a vast wasteland that failed to serve the public interest. I thought about that yesterday when I was getting ready to prepare these remarks, and I thought, well, that was 1961. I thought, gee, how far we've come. We've come up with the likes of Jersey Shore. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. And I've never seen that. I asked my staff about that. And I said, what is the worst show on television that just begs incredulity? And they said, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. And I said, that can't be true. There is no such thing. Now I'm so intrigued, I got to watch it sometime just to see how bad it really is. Of course, the standard pushback is that folks like Newton Minow, like you, like me, fans of public television, were elitist, were snobbish. I think that's just complete nonsense. I think what is elitist and what is snobbish and what is selling the American people short is to say that ordinary folks don't know and appreciate the difference between junk and quality. People get it. The American people get it. That's why 89% of households watch public television. 82% of children watch Big Bird, Word Girl, and other terrific role models on public TV. American parents appreciate the fact that we can sit our kids down in front of top-notch programming like Sesame Street and know they won't be bombarded with ads for junk food and candy and sugary beverages. Likewise, Americans appreciate the difference between Duck Dynasty, that's another one, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Duck Dynasty, is that really a show? And Downton Abbey. I do know about that. It was just a little over a year ago. We hadn't been watching Downton Abbey the first couple of seasons, and finally someone had us over to their house on a Sunday night and watched it, and Ruth, my wife, and I got hooked on it. So we had to go back and buy the DVDs. Thank you, public television, for making the DVDs, and catch up on the first 2 seasons and get us into the third and now the fourth. We just watched the last one of this season. It is a fantastic program, Downton Abbey, yes, just fantastic. And also things that the Ken Burns documentaries. I've seen every one of them. Well, I didn't see them at the time. Thank God for DVR. I think DVRs are probably the best invention ever made because you can time shift and you can watch them at your leisure later on. Americans also know one more thing. We know that in what is now truly the vast wasteland of hundreds of commercial television stations, there should be space for at least one public network. One network that is partially funded by the public and 100% committed to serving the public, informing the public, and yes, lifting up the public. As Americans, we do respect free enterprise and earning a profit. We understand advertising and commercialism. Our entire way of life is largely based on a robust private sector and commercialism. I've often thought maybe too much rampant consumerism, but nonetheless it's there. But in a healthy democracy, there must be respect for our public institutions, supported financially by the public, serving great public purposes, and accountable to the public. And public television is one of those essential institutions. That's why you folks work your hearts out day after day. And that's why I have fought for public television for 4 decades now in the U.S. Congress. And that's why there will always be passionate advocates in Congress for the vital work that you do. I will find that champion for Ready to Learn, okay? Well, as I always like to say, I may be retiring from the Senate, but I'm not retiring from the fight, and I'm not retiring from the battle for these things. So I can assure you that Ready to Learn will be funded this year, and we will find a champion to continue to make sure that it thrives in the future. Again, I thank you for this generous award, but more than that, I thank you for your dedication to programming that shines a spotlight on America at its very best. Our best values, our best ideas, our best aspirations and achievements. Again, I thank you, so many of you, for so many years of dedication. Keep up your great work. I look forward to working with you in the remainder of my time in the Senate and beyond. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's just a wonderful wonderful man and a great career. 40 years here in Washington, and we're very proud that he is one of our greatest champions.